Former President Donald Trump, that's President of the U.S., has confirmed he will leave his Florida resort on Monday to travel to New York City, where we appear in court on Tuesday following his indictment. Trump is the first former president in U.S. history to face criminal charges he called political persecution. Trump was indicted on Thursday by a grand jury in a case involving hush money paid during the 2016 presidential campaign to a porn star who alleged that Donald Trump had an extramarital sexual encounter with her years earlier. The former president is expected to fly to New York midday Monday and stay at his Trump Tower in Manhattan overnight ahead of his planned arraignment on Tuesday. Investigators will complete arrest paperwork and check to see if he has any outstanding criminal charges or warrants. Once the booking is complete, Trump will appear before a judge for an afternoon arraignment. Meanwhile, a group of Donald Trump supporters rallied in Palm Beach, Florida, for the former president ahead of his expected appearance in New York courthouse on Tuesday after his indictment over hush money was paid to former adult film actress Stormy Daniels. In a sea of Trump flag and hats backing Trump's slogan of "Make America Great Again," and a quote, the crowd cheered as they caught a glimpse of the ex-president exiting the Trump International Golf Club. Nicholas Almandres, Associate Professor of Law in the Mora School of Law at Indiana University, states a significant thing to keep in mind about the indictments of Trump is that he's former president.
The top line or the headline idea is that he's a former president, and we have not seen an indictment of a former president in the past. I think the more important thing is that he, even though he's out of office right now, and when someone's out of office, they're basically just like you and me, they're a private citizen. But he's the leader of a political movement, right? He's arguably a leader of a political movement within the Republican Party. He's sort of nominally, or arguably at the very least, the leader of one of the two major parties in the United States, and he's actively campaigning and actively engaged in politics. So that makes anything that happens with him significant. And an indictment or criminal charges, you would worry how that would affect the campaign, affect politics in general, right? What does it look like for someone who's a political leader to then be subject to criminal punishment?
So joining us now on the morning show to discuss Trump's impending appearance in courthouse is Arise correspondent Eric Ham. Good to have you and good to see you again, Eric. Eric, make sense of what is happening in America today for us and Donald Trump. What is happening as regards this indictment?
Well, the countdown begins. Donald Trump, we know, will be traveling from his Florida estate to New York. And we know tomorrow, within 24 hours, he will be formally arraigned in a Manhattan courtroom. He will be indicted in a Manhattan courtroom, and we know he will be processed, where he will be fingerprinted. He will have a mugshot taken, and we will see for the first time in United States history a former president who is up on charges. Now, where it gets interesting is we still do not know what the actual charges are that the Manhattan District Attorney is bringing against Donald Trump. Our sources are telling us that there are 34 counts in this indictment, but we have not seen them, and we don't know for sure if that's actually true. What we do know is that when this arraignment happens, all of the charges against Donald Trump will be unsealed and they will finally be made public. And that will be the first time the public will get to see all of the charges that will be brought against Donald Trump. And more importantly, we will see if these are actual felony charges or if these are misdemeanor charges. Remember, these charges that were initially investigated at the federal level was because Donald Trump had been in violation of a federal campaign law. But now the question is, how does the Manhattan District Attorney actually find a way to charge at the state level for these crimes that, of course, were investigated at the federal level? So that's when we will get a sense to see in terms of what is actually happening, and more importantly, how much trouble Donald Trump is actually in.
Well, could you again take us through the significance of this? Yes, it's been said that this is the first U.S. president out of office to be indicted. But what is the implication for his presidential ambition for 2024? and then politics within the Republican Party?
Sure. Well, let's look at this in terms of what we know, because in the United States, there have been politicians arrested, sent to prison for years. In fact, we know in the state of Illinois, we know 4 out of the last 12 governors have actually been sent to prison. We look at places like France, where we have seen former leaders who have been found guilty of crimes. In Italy, of course, in South Korea. So this is the first time this is happening in the United States, but it's actually not as strange or uncommon. In fact, this is actually very common. Where this becomes very different is in the United States, and what we see taking place is the former president is not only fighting back against these charges, but he's actually fighting at the core of what the nation has been built on, not only just the nation of laws, but the democracy on which it stands. Now, in terms of what this means for Donald Trump, who, of course, is running for president, there is very little in the Constitution, in those laws, that actually will stop Donald Trump from running for office. All you have to do is meet a very low threshold to be a candidate for president. You have to be a certain age, you have to be a U.S. citizen, and you just simply have to announce that you're running. So Donald Trump can continue to run for president even as he's facing indictment, even if he's facing multiple indictments. In fact, even if Donald Trump is convicted, Donald Trump can still not only run for president, but if he's elected, he can actually continue to serve as president. Now, of course, that may not necessarily happen, but what we do know is Donald Trump, since being indicted, has been able to raise record amounts of money. And also, this indictment has actually made Donald Trump the unmitigated front runner for the Republican primary for president of the United States. So, in fact, this indictment is actually helping Donald Trump, at least in the short term, as well as with the base of support within the Republican Party.
So when you look at this critically, like you said, it's already giving him political capital to be able to run and sort of like a fillip for his campaign. Then what does that do to the 2024 race and Ron DeSantis?
Well, Ron DeSantis, up until now, had been seen as Donald Trump's closest competitor. But again, as we have seen, since this indictment has come down, Donald Trump has not only distanced himself from his nearest competitor. In fact, now he's leading Ron DeSantis by more than 30 points in some polls. In addition to that, what this has proven and what this has shown is Donald Trump is the unmitigated leader of the Republican Party. Because since this indictment has come down, not only have we seen other Republican potential candidates, but Ron DeSantis himself come to the support of Donald Trump. And so what we're seeing here is the entire party is rallying around Donald Trump. And so while there are some in the party who have wanted to move on from Donald Trump, what we see is Donald Trump's grip and hold on the Republican Party remains just as strong today as it was when he was first elected president in 2016. Now, we do know that after he is arraigned on Tuesday, he's going to fly back to his Florida estate, where he will hold a press conference. And of course, we will see and hear more from Donald Trump about what he thinks and, more importantly, what he feels about this actual indictment that he will be.
Well, what President Trump has been saying is that this is political persecution. Is that an argument that can stand? And we're also aware that there may be possible other charges. Electoral fraud in Georgia, January 6, 2021, assault on Congress, and then also being in possession of top secret documents in Mar-a-Lago. So if all of these come up, he will still say it's political persecution and it will not be damaged in any way. Is it possible?
Well, Donald Trump has used the victimization role to maximum effect. We've already seen him use it to separate himself from the pack of those who are running. We've seen him raise record amounts of money. We've seen him, since this happened, showcase not only the power and influence that he continues to wield in the Republican Party, but also in politics. Now, in terms of what this will mean, look, Donald Trump is staring down vast legal jeopardies right now. In fact, the case in Georgia certainly looks very, very strong. And we were told more than a month ago that indictments in that case were imminent. In addition to that, we just got new information in the federal case where the special counsel is looking both into his absconding of documents as well as the January 6th information, that there is a new source that shows that Donald Trump personally dealt with many of those documents that he left the White House with. So that seems to actually embolden the case against him at that level. And so what this all means is it's very unpredictable how Donald Trump will actually be able to navigate these potential charges, these criminal investigations as he runs for president. But as we look at Donald Trump in his continued march to try to become the Republican nominee, he has a ceiling that we have to be mindful of. In the Republican Party, he is still undoubtedly the head of the party. But in a general election, if he does, in fact, become the Republican nominee, it's going to be very difficult for him to actually win the presidency, because in order to do so, you will need those all-important independent voters. And with Donald Trump, with it currently being unclear if he will be able to stay out of prison, I think that might be a bridge too far for Donald Trump. So it's good for him in the short term. It's unclear what it will mean for his candidacy in the long term.
Right. One other thing a lot of people are looking at is the effect of all of this on the Republican Party as a whole. The Republican Party that touts itself as a very right-standing party, very big on evangelical Christian, touting a candidate that is this tainted.
Look, that's a struggle that we have seen the Republican Party have to confront. And this is a party that has continued to contract. It's a party that has been unable to win the popular vote at the presidential level only one time in the 21st century, a party that continues to lose ground to Democrats at the congressional level, but also at the state and local level as well. We continue to see that play out in each of these elections. In fact, in 2022, it was thought that Republicans would win in a landslide through what's called a red wave. That never materialized. One of the reasons many Republicans believe that happened is because Donald Trump has been a drag on the party. But what we see is, even though there are some who are ready to be rid of Donald Trump, the party still is not ready to actually, or Donald Trump is not ready to be rid of the party. And so Donald Trump is not only running to become president of the United States, but he's also, we have to be clear about this, he's running to try to stay one step ahead of these indictments and these criminal cases that are confronting him right now.
But what is the reaction from the Democrats? Are they happy, jubilating, celebrating, bragging, or they are anxious about the likely outcome of Trump's travails?
Look, the Democratic Party right now, in fact, President Biden and the Biden administration has been very tight-lipped about all of this. In fact, they have not said anything at all about Donald Trump's legal challenges since this indictment came out. In addition to that, Democrats have, steadfastly continued to believe in the rule of law, and they have been very quiet. In fact, they haven't said anything about the Manhattan District Attorney or the case that is confronting Donald Trump. The Democrats have basically said this needs to play out in a court of law. And because this is a local jurisdiction where states' rights oftentimes trump federal rights, they are willing, Democrats, to just allow this entire process to play out. Because, again, Democrats actually believe in the system and are willing to allow it to work and stay out of it.
Well, thank you, Eric. Thank you very much indeed.